Okay. All right. It is starting. So my name is Emily. Welcome to Field Experience. Quick information about me. This is my 17th year in education. I have been an elementary teacher, an elementary assistant principal, building principal. I have been a higher education, school of education assessment coordinator and assistant professor. I am now currently the director of early childhood special education in Warren County. I'm sure there's like 10 other things I've done in there somewhere. I just can't remember what they are right now. So, but that's kind of just a quick little background of who I am and my experience. So I've been with William Woods for 4 years now. I worked on main campus for a while. And then when I came back to public school, I now work with the grad programs and field experience. So I will probably be with you for all 3 of your field experiences. That being said, there's always changes happening around William Woods, so we'll see what happens. But typically I'm with you guys through the end of the program. So I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint presentation to share with you guys. While I'm pulling that up, a couple of quick kind of housekeeping things. If you have a note or if you have the syllabus printed out or something, I'm going to give you guys my cell phone number so that if you need it for anything, you can reach me. It never fails. At some point over the summer, I get kicked out of everything William Woods. Emails, I can't get to anything. So I want to make sure that you guys can get to me if you're trying to reach me through email and I'm not able to respond or something. So my cell phone number is 314-374-9226. And I have summer school here, so text is probably the quickest way to get to me, but you're welcome to call or email or any of that, but text will probably get to me quicker. All right.
Can you say that one more time, please?
314-374-9226. All right, so I will also share this actual PowerPoint with you guys. So I'm not going to read through everything. It just kind of gives you a heads up of what this field experience is, both this section of it, the first section, but then also overview overall, because there's 3 altogether. So this is our very first field experience session. Tonight, we're going to talk about what this field experience is overall, verify your on-site supervisor and that the memorandum of understanding has been submitted. And we'll talk about the role of your on-site supervisor and what things they'll need to be doing throughout the process, because that's changed a little bit. And then take a look at the syllabus, and then anything that you might need from Brightspace, we'll take a look at that too. So the field experience overall is for those participants that are wanting that K-12 school leader certification. So part of that certification is 300 hours of field experience. So the 300 hours falls over 3 semesters. So 16 weeks each semester. So at William Woods, your classes are probably 8-week classes. This will span a full 16 weeks, and it will start on like the first term of the semester. So for example, in the fall, there's fall 1 and fall 2. Those are 8-week terms. Field experience starts in fall 1 and ends at the end of fall 2. And then if you have field experience over the summer, it would be the summer 1, 8 weeks, the summer 2, 8 weeks, and then the same for spring. Right now, this is the summer is the last time that it's the EDU557. So you guys are really lucky that it's going to switch the course labels in the middle of your field experiences. But so right now, everything that you guys have is labeled EDU557, and we're in 01 first semester. Starting in the fall, it will be FLD for field. And then instead of 01, 02, 03, it'll be 501, 502, and 503. Yeah, I know. Registering for the classes, there's always a glitch. Before we finish each semester, we'll talk, like I'll check in with you guys to make sure that you guys get signed up for the right one moving forward. But just know that it will change from EDU to FLD. But we'll take care of that when we get there, when it's ready for registration. Okay, so the field experience, each of you have to have your on-site supervisor and the memorandum of understanding signed, basically that agreement between William Woods, yourself, your school district, that it's okay that we're doing this field experience and that you have a supervisor who meets the requirements. So your on-site supervisor requirements, the person who you're working with and who's kind of overseeing this process for you at your site, has to have a minimum of a master's, 3 years of admin experience. And then you should have everybody on the call here has already submitted everything. So you've already met this kind of first check the box. That you've already had Dr. Miller confirm your on-site supervisor and your memorandum of understanding. She has sent those documents to me. So if you have questions about anything, just let me know. But that's kind of checking the first 2 things off the box and 2 less things that you have to worry about. I may touch base with you just to make sure that I have the right person, because that's who I will be looking for some information to come from at the end of the semester. But other than that, I think you guys have everything taken care of for your instructors. If you guys have any questions as I'm going through this information, just shout them out and I'll stop and check in. So that person who is your on-site supervisor is, before, in the past, it was like, I'm starting my field experience. They're going to sign their name on this piece of paper saying, yes, I can be their supervisor. And then we go through 3 semesters of field experience, and then they give you an evaluation. Yes, you're working with them in the meantime throughout that, but there wasn't anything really that we were doing to engage with that on-site supervisor before. So now they're a part of more of that field experience. And part of what they're doing with you throughout that is helping you to figure out, it never fails that, like, toward the end of that 3rd semester, we're thinking, how are we going to get more hours? I'm missing this many hours and I can't think of anything else to do. That on-site supervisor helps with that. And they should be someone that you can go to and say, what do you need me to do? Give me stuff to do so I can get some field experience hours going. Also giving you support and feedback as you're working on whatever those tasks might be. Also this person, so once we get to the end of your program, the end of field experience, you guys will be taking your performance assessment for that part of that certification. And so this person also should be helping you think about what that performance assessment topic could be about. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then they do still give you an evaluation at the end. Before, it was just at the very end of the 3rd field experience semester. Now they have it built in to where at the end of each semester, field experience 1, 2, and 3, they'll give you an evaluation for each one of those. So paperwork wise, it's just that evaluation each semester that they have to do. But really, they're helping with a lot of legwork to help make sure you get your hours and that you're working on something meaningful that will meet the requirements of that performance assessment. Okay, syllabus. I am going to just finish the PowerPoint and then we'll come to the syllabus after that, so I don't have to go back and forth sharing the screen. This will be in the syllabus, so we'll take a look at that once we are looking in the packet, but these are the leadership domains that all of your field experience hours will fall under. The syllabus has these defined and even has examples of activities that you can do that fall into this. But each of these domains has a minimum number of hours. So just kind of be mindful of that as you're starting to keep track of your hours, if you haven't already. That I have found with the students in field experience, if as you are accruing your hours, yes, keeping track of them on your field experience log, but also connecting those hours to one of these domains as you go will be so helpful, so that you're not sitting at the end of 48 weeks thinking, what is this activity? What was it really? And what domain did it fit under? So we'll talk about how to set up your field experience log so that it's helpful and connecting to this. So it's maybe a little bit more legwork to get going, but at the end it will pay off. So we'll look at those. Okay, so again, looking at 300 hours in total. So the ballpark is about 100 hours for each of these semesters that you have, but it's not make or break. So if you can only get 75 hours this summer, that's fine. Just know that you need to tack on that 25 hours in the second or third semester. You know, there's going to be very busy times and less busy times. So as long as you know where you are on track for that 300 hours, that's the biggest thing. I mentioned that there's a minimum number of hours. So those are listed here. It's also listed in your syllabus and on the contact hours log. But you need to have a minimum of 10 of your 300 hours in visionary, 50 for instructional, 70 for managerial, 50 for relational, 20 for innovative, and then that leaves you another 100 hours that you could just kind of plug in any one of those wherever they fit. The other thing is you need to decide. I kind of look your first discussion board post, most of you mentioned your current certifications and where you're teaching currently, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you want to focus your field experience on. So the second line in the box right here says major experience area and then minor area. So what that means is, in addition to the minimum number of hours that you have for each domain, you also need to make sure that if you want to focus your field experience on elementary, which would be K-8, then you have to have 200 of those 300 hours in an elementary setting, K-8. And then you would have 50 at least in the opposite. So if I wanted to focus on elementary, I need to have 200 plus hours in an elementary setting. And then I need to have 50 plus hours in a secondary setting. So I wanted to make sure and check with you guys. So I'm going to ask you, and if you don't know yet, then that's fine. And it's not, this is just how you're going to break down your field experience for a variety of experiences and activities. This doesn't mean that your certification is still K-12, but this is just how to focus the hours that you have. So Ashley, do you know if you prefer elementary or secondary as your primary area?
It'll be secondary.
Okay. Josh Dansby.
Secondary.
Okay. Brooke.
Elementary.
Okay. Josh Link.
Secondary.
Okay. I'll get with Hannah and then Adrian.
Secondary.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a note of that. All right, so assignments that you guys have in this first 16 weeks. So discussion, well, I take that back. This is over the entire 3 field experience semesters. So each field experience semester, you'll have discussion board posts, journal entries, your on-site supervisor will do that evaluation. You'll turn in your log of hours that you have so far. And then at the very end, in the end of the 3rd semester, you'll turn in a reflection paper based on your total number of hours. And then also you'll turn in your final clinical log. So this is a little bit more than what has been done in the past. We used to have field experience just kind of check-in meetings. So now there are actual discussion board posts and journal entries along the way, just a couple, so that it's at least a point of contact, so we're checking in. But you guys have all already finished the first one this semester, so another 3 boxes you can mark off your list. Okay, so this is your discussion board post. I'm not gonna dig into the details. You guys did a great job. So just make sure that the first one's always kind of tricky to make it super meaningful because we're doing introductions and responding to introductions. So as we move forward, you'll have another discussion board post in week 8, I believe. So when we get to that, just make sure, and I'll send reminders as we get there because we're not close. But you guys will respond to the prompt, and then you'll respond to 2 posts as a reply to that thread, and just making sure that it's meaningful discussion and it's not just, yeah, I agree, isn't that crazy? So I'll send more information as we get close to that. Then once each semester, so halfway through each semester, you'll also turn in a journal post to me. So the discussion forum is everybody interacting together. The journal post is just a discussion between you and I, checking in on your activities, asking any questions. So which is an option throughout the semester anytime you need a check-in, but this is just going to be an official one halfway through the semester. And then your on-site supervisor, again, I mentioned they'll do an evaluation of you at the end of the first semester, second semester, and third semester. There is a page in the syllabus we're going to get to in a minute that summarizes all this. It'll be easy to keep track of. All right, so the log of hours. So this is something, if there is one thing that I can give you as a what do I need to do first or what's most important, this is going to be my recommendation, is to set up your system for your log so that you can start keeping track of hours now and you're not left trying to like go back and search in your calendar for what was that one thing I did that one time. So the more you set this up to just plug information in, the easier it's going to be over the next 3 semesters. So the final reflection paper that's due at the end of the 3rd semester is written as a reflection of the hours you're keeping track of on here. You will turn your clinical hours into me at the end of each semester, first, second, and then your final one in the 3rd. And that's another kind of just checkpoint to make sure that you're on your way and you're not like still, you know, at the end of the 2nd semester and you have 0 hours for a couple of domains. So again, here at the bottom, here's the target. So at the end of this semester, when we get to Christmas, nope, I'm thinking it's fall. When we get to August, you want around 75 to 100 hours. And then your next semester, you're going to hopefully get up close to 200. And then by the end, all 300 hours. You're just as a heads up, it is way far down the road, but that summative reflection at the end of the very last semester is about a 10 to 15 page paper. So in addition, and it's a 10 to 15 page paper reflecting on what you've done in your field experience. So also, as we talk about your clinical experience log, when you're setting it up so you can plug stuff in, you want to make sure that you're detailed enough that if that was an activity you want to write about in your reflection, you know, you remember enough about it based on your description, rather than just putting like IEP meeting. There was probably something significant about that IEP meeting that you wanted to remember and include on your contact hours log. But if that's all you're going to put on your log, that's not going to help you with your reflection. Versus if I had written IEP meeting, due process complaint, or like came from this IEP meeting. So the more detailed you can be on your clinical hours log, the more it will pay off with your reflection at the end. Okay, this is all in Brightspace and in your syllabus. We'll come back to that. No worries about that. Any questions about anything before we jump into the syllabus? All of that information is also in the syllabus, but any questions that came to mind while I was going over all that? Okay. All right, let me stop sharing this one. And then I'm going to start sharing this one. Okay. I'm going to skip over a lot of the beginning of this. If you have your syllabus with you, I'm going to skip all the way to page 11. So the first part here is just kind of the normal formal instructor information. If you need tech help, what our help desk information is. There's no textbook. Anything you need is in the syllabus or in Brightspace. Course objectives, leadership domains, all of that. Let's see. Okay. So just a really quick overview of the assignments. And again, this is in a table a couple pages down. So I don't feel like you need to jot down a list. But your on-site supervisor enrollment, everybody's done that. So number 1 is already finished. Just a note, because everybody's changing their roles, this is kind of the big time for turnover. So if your on-site supervisor changes, just let me know. We need to get a new form. Number 2, the district MOU. Again, everybody has this taken care of. So check off number 2, already finished. Discussion board post. You guys have already finished the first one. There will be one more, I believe. I'll have to look at the chart down below, but you guys have taken care of the first one. There's going to be a discussion board in each of the semesters. And you post once and reply to 2 others, which you guys did. So you did just fine. Number 4, journal entry. So this does not happen until midterms. So I'll remind you that it's coming up. You'll get emails from me as a reminder, but this is kind of just like a check-in and a discussion with us individually. And then the on-site supervisor evaluation, that happens at the very end of the semester. Again, I will send you an email to remind you. And then that's uploaded into Brightspace. Number 6 is the hours, keeping track of your hours. We'll touch base on this later in the syllabus, but throughout you'll be doing that. And then at the very end of the last semester, you'll turn in a reflection paper. So we don't need to worry about that anytime soon. So here's 2 really nice graphics or tables to show all of the assignments. So this just is more organized by just assignments throughout all of your field experiences, 1, 2, and 3, when they're due and how much the points are for it. To me, this next table is the easiest one because this is more like your checklist. So on page 14, this breaks down everything that you need to do in this semester before the middle of August. So week 1, discussion board post, you've already done it. On-site supervisor verification, you've already done it. And your MOU, done. Weeks 2 through 7 is just doing your field experience. There's nothing else you guys need to be working on right now other than just trying to find ways that you can get your hours. When we get halfway through, you'll have another discussion board, a journal to me, and then we'll touch base on the performance assessment. We'll jump into that in a little bit. And then the second half, so weeks 9 through 15, again, is no work necessarily on Brightspace, just getting your hours in. And then week 16 is going to be turning in the log of hours and your on-site supervisor evaluation. So you guys have already knocked out week 1. We're in week 2 through 7, and then we'll come up to our midterm here shortly, but you'll get emails for that. The syllabus also includes the same breakdown for the second semester and the third semester. Essentially, it's the same every time. Start with the discussion board, do your hours, discussion board and journal, do your hours, turn in your log and your supervisor evaluation. Any questions that you guys have about the assignments? They're pretty self-explanatory. They're not too in-depth, but just something so we make sure that everybody's moving forward. Okay. The next bulk of the syllabus breaks what that table says down into weekly sessions. So the session here is referring to like semester 1, semester 2, semester 3. So I'm not going to read any of that to you because it's basically what we've talked about this time. So, but pages, let's see, it starts on 18. So page 18 through 30 is a breakdown of the weekly expectations if you're looking for something in more detail, and it pulls the course objectives with it and all of that. All right. All right, so here's where we get into the field experience requirements. This was in the PowerPoint presentation, so I won't spend a lot of time on it either. But again, this is for the K-12 certification, a total of 3 hours. You've all shared with me what your major area of study is going to be and your minor. So again, and this information will be in every email that I send you, just so that you have it as a refresher. But 200 hours for your major area and 50 hours for your minor, and then 50 hours to kind of flex between those two wherever you need it. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that there is a minimum number of hours per domain, leadership domain. We talked about that, but here's the big one. No more than 10 hours in any one activity. So I mentioned this in the email the other week. The example usually that is something that accrues a lot of hours is supervision, especially for you guys in secondary. It's easy to get hours supervising bus drop off, car pool, or car riders. It's sporting events, lunchroom, clubs, things like that. So a single activity can only take up to 10 hours. So if you are supervising bus duty, lunchroom, and track and field, then in 300 hours, only 10 can be supervision. Now, that's kind of cut and dry because supervision is supervision. It just is, that's what it is. Where you can kind of get a little creative is in some of the other activities. So let's say, for example, department chair meetings. So department chair meetings, if you are putting on your log just department chair meetings, then I'm going to cut you off at 10 and say you can't have more than 10. You need to find some other hours. But if you have department chair meetings, curriculum review, then that's going to fit under your instructional domain versus department meetings, team building, first meeting of the year. So if you're doing different things in your meetings and those different things are taking up like more than 10 hours, you can kind of break those pieces apart. The other thing that happens a lot of time is administrator meetings. Like if you're going to sit in on district level admin meetings, break those things apart. Like there's usually parts of those meetings that are more like facilities, maintenance, grounds, transportation, things like that. Those would fit into more the managerial domain. And then there might be parts of admin meetings that are talking about special education, 504 plans, evaluation process. That might go more into maybe even innovative, instructional. So as you turn in your clinical hours to me, we'll kind of touch base on this, but again, no one activity can count more than 10 hours, but we can get creative with some of those things. Okay, the other thing is everybody here in 557 or is anybody in 657? Okay, I thought everybody was 557. So the other thing to keep in mind also, and if it were me, I might even put this first on my clinical hours log so that I always remember it. But there are some courses that have a task or an assignment in the course that is supposed to be on your hours. So this right here on page 3132, this shows you which classes have which assignments that will go on your log. And in your syllabus for these classes, so for example, 585 school law, the assignment here is legislative mandates, the ESSA group research project, and oral presentation. So this will go on your clinical hours log. When you get to 585 and you get the syllabus, in the syllabus for the 585 class, it will say to count this for, 10 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is. So it'll tell you how many hours. So just know that this list of activities are embedded in your classes and will count for hours. So this already knocks out at least a little bit that you don't have to worry about.
Will the syllabus tell you also like the domain that
Yes.
it's under? Okay.
Yes. And most of these are, some of them don't, but like 572, the class is managerial leadership. So they'll all go under there. But yeah, the syllabus will tell you where to put it. Great question. The syllabus also has a list of recommended activities. So on page 33, this is activity selection tips, just kind of guidelines of things to choose. So yes, you're going to have hours that are managerial. They're just kind of, run-of-the-mill kind of things you have to do. But you want to try to also pick some big heavy hitter things that are going to look good on your resume when you're applying for an administrator position, saying that you were a part of, an ELA curriculum overhaul and you adopted an entire new curriculum looks great. If you're, moving into an administrator position, you've led that process or been a part of that process. So this page is just kind of recommending the kinds of things that look good on a resume that maybe might be happening over the course of your field experience that you can help with. These are the domains. So this is just going through each of those and outlining what those are. There's the domains again in the little graphic. All right, so this is your field experience, your on-site supervisor form. Everybody has it finished, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is your memorandum of understanding. Everybody has it finished, so I'm not going to worry about it. This is the form that your on-site supervisor will complete at the end of each semester. So this is also located in Brightspace, so you don't have to do anything with it. But at the end of in week 16 of each semester, they'll need to complete this form. So I'll remind you about it as we get closer. Nothing to worry about right now, but just know that that's in there. Okay, so the other page, a couple above this, were some recommended like resume worthy activities. here are some more ideas. So this is the next several pages that breaks down by domain some activities that people have done in the past. So if you are struggling to find hours, come here and see if there's anything going on in your district that you might be able to help with, or in your buildings that you might be able to help with. But there's a lot of options here, especially sometimes it's hard to start field experience over the summer because we're not there with the kids. So there might be things on here that you can reach out to your on-site supervisor and say, hey, is there anything on here that I can be working on to get some hours over the summer? All right, so here is an option for your contact log. You do not have to use this one. I have had people before that are serious Google Sheets, Excel, color coding, you know, the whole, people get very into how they track this because you're using this document for 3 semesters. The only thing, if you're not going to use this, perfectly fine, just make sure it has all of this information on it. You have to have the domains, and you have to be keeping track of your hours. So if you're using this one, each of these boxes is going to be another activity that you're doing, but you also need to make sure that as you're adding activities, you're making a note if it's in your minor or major area, so secondary or elementary, and then also making a note if of how many hours you have. So when you turn this into me at the end of each semester, you're going to have to total up how many in each domain. If you have 25 hours in visionary, 25 in instructional, 25 in managerial, and nothing in relational and innovative yet at the end of the semester. So just keep adding your hours as you're going is the biggest thing. So I can, I don't know if I still have access to some that people have sent me before, but if you are creating a different document and you're like, I'm not sure if this is going to work, feel free to just email it to me and let me know and I can take a look at it. But you can use this, or I've honestly had people print this out and handwrite their things, their information on it. I wouldn't say that's the recommended way to do it, but you might, I don't know. It just makes me nervous to have a printout copy because it might lose it. That's no good. Okay, couple more things. So I'm not going to dig into this because we don't need to worry about it until the end of the 3rd field experience. But this is the recommendation or the expectations of your field experience reflection. So if you want to glance at it now so you can see what you're going to have to do at the end, that's fine. But we have plenty of more meetings between now and then.
I mean,
So,
do you suggest we just like keep it in the back of our mind and like, do we write things to the side? I mean, because it is such a big paper.
yeah, the thing that I have found people do that is helpful is so the assignment itself is you have to pick 4 activities per domain to reflect on. So that it is a long paper, but once you pick 4 visionary activities, 4 instructional, 4 manage, like it adds up pretty quick and takes up space. The biggest thing I would say would be a recommendation would be if you're adding hours into your log of things that might be a big reflective moment for you as a future administrator, I would just make a note on your log that might be something you want to come back to. That way, at the end of the 3 semesters, you're not looking at 300 hours of field experience going, what do I want to do? Or what do I want to pick? So, but it's really, that's the bulk of it. You literally, people just have a heading that says visionary leadership, reflection 1, 2, 3, 4, instructional 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not like a daunting, you know, go and find 17 sources and APA, all of that. I mean,
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we'll touch base on all of that. Again, these are the hours within assignments within those classes that you can pull from. This is the rubric for that final paper. We'll approach that as we get closer to it, but basically it's looking at, are you fully explaining the meaning behind, like the importance behind that activity? So, all right. We also, in week 8, when we touch base, we'll talk about this more, but when you are getting your certification at the end of the program overall, you are going to take a performance assessment and a content assessment. So the completion of the program and your field experience, along with the performance assessment and the content assessment, will be what gets your certification. So the performance assessment we will talk about. That will be a whole nother Zoom because we'll get into all of that. But what I want you to be thinking about with this is you are going to want to identify an instructional problem in your school that you and a team of teachers, your administrators, your on-site supervisor can work on improving over the course of your time in the program. Instructional problem does not mean attendance. So I think everybody's attendance has been hit hard over the last couple of years. Does attendance impact instruction? Yes, but attendance itself is not instructional. So in the past, people have done things like if you see a gap in test scores, like ELA scores are lower in 9th grade, but they were higher in 8th grade and 10th grade. It could be, so just be thinking of options of if you know that there's a gap somewhere, your performance assessment is the work that you and your team will put in to close that gap. We'll talk about it more in detail, but we'll touch base on it quite a bit, quite often. And then the content assessment is just, like your multiple choice computer assessment in order to get your certification. So again, you won't take this until the very end. And it's actually a part of some of your final classes. Like they take you through what's on the content assessment. You study for it during part of your final classes. So don't worry about it for now, but just know that that's coming. In order to get the K-12 certification, you finish the coursework, you take the field experiences, you do the performance assessment, you do the content assessment. Okay, I think that is the end. Okay, let me stop sharing for a second. We did that. Okay, the last thing I'll say is because it's been 45 minutes. I will send you guys weekly emails. I was gonna start this week because just to start the weekly emails this week, but I had just emailed you the other day with the link and I didn't want to keep bombarding you. I wanted us to talk through all of this first. So what will happen moving forward is every Monday, you'll get an email from me and it'll just say, this is week 4. This is what you're working on this week. This is what's coming up. Your next assignment is this and it's due on this. Keep in mind that this is coming at the end of the semester. This is, all of that kind of important stuff. So for the most part, they're just informational emails. I don't need anything from you, just making sure that I'm providing you information so you're keeping track of this timeline for the semester. But it's also an opportunity if you have questions or you're like, hey, I'm doing this one activity. What domain do you think it would fit in? You can reach out anytime to ask that. But so you'll start getting weekly emails from me on Monday, starting this coming up Monday. The only last thing I have is Brightspace. You guys, we only need it for discussion posts, journals, and uploading your documents like your evaluation at the end. Does anybody have any questions about Brightspace? Okay. We will touch base again, probably like week 8 or 9. I have to look at the calendar and see. It will not be this long of a meeting. It's more just like a check-in. What do you guys need? But again, I'll email you every Monday. So if you need anything week to week, just reach out, and I'll probably share, if you have questions, I'll probably share them like I did earlier with the previous email to say, you know, these are 2 questions I've already gotten for the good of the group. I'll share them here. So I'll probably do the same thing if anything comes up. But you have my cell phone number, you have my email. The next handful of weeks are just working on getting your hours and setting up your contact hours log. So if you set up your contact hours log and you want to send it to me to make sure it's okay before you get 200 hours in on it, I'm happy to check on that too. You have to turn it in to me at the end anyway, but so it's just up to you. Any questions about anything?
And we're able to use hours from when we first started. So if we started spring 2, we
Right.
can backlog.
Yeah, yeah. As long as you've been in the program, you can use those hours. So some of you might have already had a course or 2. This doesn't necessarily always line up as the first semester. So, but yeah, you can do that. And you know, the other thing, if you're thinking like 300 hours sounds like a ton of hours, it is a lot. But by the time you factor in the hours that are built into the classes and the hours that you're going to be spending on this performance assessment task, which will be the next discussion we have, that takes up a lot of hours. So it's, you know, it is work. You do have to find things to do, but it's not, there is a lot already kind of available to you. So it's not like you have to find all 300 hours, but. All right, I am going to stop recording.